Welcome, spicy lady. Have you ever met a woman who seems completely unaffected by the pressure to fit into everyone else's expectations? Not because life has been easy for her, but because she has learned lessons that most people spend years avoiding. There is a big difference between acting fearless and becoming fearless. One is a performance. The other is built through disappointment, hard choices, painful self-reflection, and the courage to face uncomfortable truths. I end this video. We are not talking about the usual ideas people repeat about Sigma females. We are going much deeper than that. These are the habits that quietly shape the strongest women. They are not flashy, trendy, or designed to impress anyone. Instead, they are practical ways of thinking that protect peace, sharpen judgment, and help a woman stay true to herself even when life becomes complicated. Some of these habits may challenge the way you see yourself and the people around you. Others may explain experiences you have never been able to put into words that so stay with me until the very end, because each point builds on the last, and together they paint a complete picture that is far more powerful than any single habit on its own. If you enjoy thoughtful conversations like this, share your thoughts in the comments. Share this video with someone who would appreciate it and subscribe to join our community. Thank you for your support. Now let's get started, spicy lady. Number 1, they constantly audit their own ego. They question themselves before they question everyone else. They ask, am I protecting what is true or am I protecting my pride? One of the rarest habits of a truly fearless spicy lady Sigma is that she regularly questions herself before pointing fingers at anyone else. That sounds simple, but very few people actually do it. It is much easier to blame bad friends, difficult family members, unfair bosses, or bad luck than to honestly ask, what part did I play in this? She understands that real growth begins with uncomfortable questions, not comfortable excuses. She has learned that the ego is clever. It can make pride look like self-respect. It can make stubbornness look like strength. It can even make fear look like wisdom. That is why she refuses to trust every thought that makes her feel right. Before reacting, she quietly asks herself, am I standing up for what is true or am I simply trying to protect my pride? That one question has saved her from countless regrets. For example, after an argument, most people immediately replay everything the other person did wrong. She does something different. She also replays her own words, her own attitude, and her own reactions that if she realizes she was wrong, she is willing to admit it without seeing it as a personal defeat. To her, admitting a mistake is proof of maturity, not weakness. This habit also protects her from becoming the kind of person she once struggled with. She knows that success, intelligence, and experience can quietly feed the ego until a person becomes impossible to correct. That is why she never assumes she has outgrown the need for self-reflection. The moment someone believes they have nothing left to learn is often the moment they stop growing. Over time, this honest inner audit gives her something that cannot be faked. She develops clear judgment because she is not constantly defending an image of herself. She is committed to the truth even when the truth is uncomfortable. That quiet honesty becomes one of her greatest strengths, allowing her to grow while many people remain trapped inside the stories their own ego keeps telling them. Number 2, they intentionally spend time without stimulation. No music, no scrolling, no conversations, just quiet. They understand that silence reveals thoughts, fears, and desires that constant entertainment keeps hidden. One of the most overlooked habits of a fearless spicy lady Sigma is her willingness to spend time in complete quiet. No phone in her hand, no television playing in the background, no music filling every empty moment, no constant conversations just to avoid being alone with her thoughts. In a world that treats silence like something to escape, she treats it like a place to learn. Most people stay busy because it keeps uncomfortable thoughts out of reach. The moment life becomes quiet, worries begin to surface. Old regrets appear. Unanswered questions return. Future fears become louder. Instead of running from those moments, she sits with them. She knows that silence has a strange way of revealing what constant distraction keeps hidden. For example, someone may spend hours scrolling through social media every evening thinking they are simply relaxing. But the truth is they may be avoiding a difficult decision, a broken relationship, or a dream they are too afraid to pursue. The endless entertainment becomes a hiding place that a fearless, spicy Lady Sigma notices when she is using distractions to avoid herself. When she catches it, she puts the phone down and gives herself space to think. That it is during these quiet moments that she often finds her best answers. She begins to notice patterns in her own behavior. She recognizes habits that no longer serve her. She understands what genuinely brings her peace and what only gives temporary comfort. That kind of clarity cannot be found in endless noise because wisdom needs room to breathe. This does not mean she rejects fun or avoids people. She enjoys both. The difference is that she does not need constant stimulation to feel alive. She is comfortable sitting with her own thoughts because she has learned that the hardest conversations are often the ones we have with ourselves. Over time, this habit gives her something many people never develop. She becomes deeply familiar with her own mind. When you understand yourself, you make better decisions, recover from setbacks faster, and stop living on autopilot. Sometimes the greatest breakthrough in life does not come from hearing more voices. It comes from finally listening to your own. Number 3. They can admit when they were completely wrong. Nothing challenges insecurity more than admitting a mistake. Fearless Spicy Lady Sigma can let go of outdated beliefs without feeling that their worth has been threatened. Point 1 habit that separates a truly fearless Spicy Lady Sigma from most people is her ability to admit when she has been completely wrong. That may not sound impressive at first, but in reality, it is one of the hardest things anyone can do. Most people would rather defend a mistake than face the uncomfortable feeling of being wrong. They argue longer, make excuses, or change the subject because admitting the truth feels like losing. She sees it differently. She understands that being wrong does not make her weak. It makes her human. What matters is what she does after discovering the truth. Instead of asking, how do I protect my reputation? She asks, what can I learn from this? That simple shift changes everything. It allows her to grow while others stay trapped in the same patterns for years. Think about someone who misjudges a friend. Maybe she believed a rumor, assumed the worst, or reacted too quickly. When the truth comes out, many people quietly pretend nothing happened because apologizing feels embarrassing. A fearless Spicy Lady Sigma does not play that game. She is willing to say, I got it wrong and I am sorry. Those words may be uncomfortable, but they also build trust because people know they are dealing with someone who values honesty more than pride. This habit also protects her from becoming emotionally stuck. She knows that some beliefs served her well at one stage of life, but no longer fit the person she is becoming. Instead of clinging to old opinions simply because they are familiar, she updates her thinking as she gains new experiences. She would rather outgrow an old belief than spend years defending something she no longer believes. In the end, her confidence does not come from always being right. It comes from knowing she is strong enough to face the truth, even when it humbles her. That is real courage. It is the kind of strength that keeps a person learning, improving, and becoming wiser with every lesson life offers. Number 4, they become more careful after success than after failure. Failure naturally teaches caution. Success can quietly create overconfidence. Fearless Spicy Lady Sigma become even more disciplined after achieving something because they know success can weaken character if left unchecked. Most people become careful after they fail. A fearless Spicy Lady Sigma becomes even more careful after she succeeds. That may sound unusual, but she understands something that many people learn too late. Failure usually humbles people. Success can quietly blind them. The bigger the victory, the easier it becomes to believe every future decision will also be right. She has seen it happen many times. Someone gets promoted, builds a successful business, gains respect, or reaches an important goal. At first, they remain grounded, but little by little, they stop listening to advice. They assume they already have all the answers. They take bigger risks without thinking them through. They become careless because past success convinces them they cannot fail. She refuses to fall into that trap. After achieving something important, she does not immediately relax and assume everything will keep going well. Instead, she asks herself difficult questions. What did I do right? What was simply good timing? Where did I get lucky? Those questions keep her honest. She knows that confusing luck with skill is one of the fastest ways to lose everything she worked so hard to build. Think about an athlete who wins one championship and suddenly stops training with the same intensity. Before long, someone who stayed disciplined takes the title away. Or consider a person who saves enough money to feel comfortable, then start spending carelessly because they believe they will always have more. Success often plants the seeds of future failure when it leads to complacency. A fearless spicy lady Sigma protects herself from that mindset. She celebrates her wins, but she never lets them make her careless. Every achievement becomes a reminder to stay disciplined, stay curious, and keep learning. She understands that yesterday's success does not guarantee tomorrow's results. That is why she often keeps improving while others slowly lose their edge. She knows that success is not the finish line. It is a new test of character. Staying humble after winning is often harder than staying hopeful after losing. And she chooses humility every single time because she knows it is the habit that protects everything she has earned. Number 5, they train themselves to recognize internal lies. The most dangerous deception rarely comes from other people. One of the deepest habits of a fearless spicy lady Sigma is learning to question the stories she tells herself. She knows that the most convincing lies are not always spoken by other people. Sometimes they come from her own mind. They sound reasonable. They feel true, and they protect her from discomfort. That is exactly what makes them dangerous. The human mind is incredibly creative when it wants to avoid pain. It can disguise fear as being careful. It can disguise jealousy as having high standards. It can disguise laziness as waiting for the perfect time. If those stories go unchallenged, they slowly become beliefs, and those beliefs begin to shape an entire life. A fearless spicy lady Sigma refuses to let that happen. Whenever she catches herself making excuses, she pauses and asks a difficult question. Is this really the truth? Or is this simply the answer that makes me feel better? That one question has the power to expose years of self-deception. For example, someone may keep saying, I am just waiting for the right opportunity. Months turn into years, yet nothing changes. The real problem may not be a lack of opportunity. It may be a fear of failing. Another person might say, I have no time to work on my dreams while spending hours every day watching videos or scrolling through their phone. The excuse feels believable until they honestly examine how they spend their time. She also knows that pride can create some of the biggest internal lies. After a friendship ends, it is easy to believe the other person was completely at fault. After losing a job, it is easy to blame everyone except yourself. While other people may have played a role, she is brave enough to ask, what truth about myself have I been avoiding? That question opens the door to real growth. This habit is not about being harsh with herself. It is about being honest with herself. She understands that you cannot change a lie you keep believing. The moment she replaces comforting excuses with uncomfortable truth, she becomes stronger, wiser, and far more difficult to deceive because the person she has learned to see through first is herself. Number 6, they quietly study human weakness without feeling superior. Instead of criticizing people's flaws, they become students of human nature. A fearless spicy lady Sigma has a habit that many people never develop. She quietly studies human weakness, not to mock people or feel smarter than them, but to better understand how people really work. She knows that every person is fighting a battle that cannot always be seen. Behind confidence, there may be fear. Behind anger, there may be disappointment. Behind arrogance, there may be deep insecurity. Instead of rushing to judge, she becomes curious. She has learned that human nature follows patterns. People often lie to protect their pride. They avoid difficult conversations because they fear rejection. They become defensive when the truth touches something they have been trying to hide from themselves. Once she understands these patterns, she stops taking everything personally. She realizes that many people's actions say more about their inner struggles than about her. For example, if someone constantly needs to prove they are better than everyone else, many people would simply call them arrogant. She looks a little deeper. She wonders what they are trying so hard to cover up. Truly secure people rarely spend all their energy convincing others of their worth. That simple observation helps her respond with wisdom instead of unnecessary conflict. What makes her different is that she turns the same spotlight on herself. Every flaw she notices in someone else becomes a reason to ask, do I ever do this without realizing it? If she sees someone refusing to admit a mistake, she checks whether pride is quietly growing in her own life. If she notices someone chasing attention, she asks herself if she has ever looked for approval in different ways. She believes it is easy to point out another person's weakness, but much harder to recognize your own. This habit keeps her humble. The more she understands people, the less she feels the need to place herself above them. She knows that everyone has blind spots, including her. That is why she spends less time judging and more time learning. In the end, wisdom is not about collecting reasons to criticize people. It is about understanding human nature so deeply that you become more patient, more self-aware, and far less likely to repeat the same mistakes yourself. Number 7, they protect their future self more than their present feelings. Many short-term pleasures quietly steal tomorrow's peace. One of the wisest habits of a fearless spicy lady Sigma is that she thinks beyond the moment. She knows that feelings are real, but they are not always reliable. A decision that feels good today can quietly become tomorrow's biggest regret. That is why she has trained herself to pause before making important choices and ask one simple question. Will my future self respect this choice? That question has saved her from mistakes that emotions alone would have encouraged. Most people make decisions based on how they feel right now. They send the angry message. They stay in the unhealthy relationship because they are afraid of being alone. They spend money to impress people they barely know. They ignore their health because they promise themselves they will start next week. In the moment, every one of those choices feels justified. The problem only appears later when the consequences arrive. A fearless spicy lady Sigma understands that every decision is a conversation with her future. She knows that the woman she will become is shaped by the choices she makes today. Instead of chasing temporary comfort, she thinks about lasting peace. For example, after a painful breakup, she may desperately want to call someone who repeatedly hurt her. Her emotions tell her to reach out because the loneliness feels unbearable. But then she asks herself, will I be proud that I made this call a month from now? That question gives her enough clarity to protect herself from making a decision she will later wish she could take back. The same habit shows up in everyday life. She chooses rest before burnout. She saves money instead of buying things she does not need. She has difficult conversations instead of allowing resentment to quietly grow. She invests in learning new skills even when progress feels slow because she knows the rewards often appear much later. She has discovered a truth that many people overlook. Every small choice either helps or harms the person she is becoming. Real freedom is not doing whatever feels good in the moment. Real freedom is making choices that allow your future self to look back with gratitude instead of regret. That quiet habit becomes one of the greatest gifts she can ever give herself. Number 8, they practice emotional delays. Instead of reacting immediately to praise, criticism, exciting opportunities, or painful news, they intentionally give themselves time. One of the quietest signs of a fearless spicy lady Sigma is that she rarely lets the first emotion make the final decision. She has learned that the first reaction is often the loudest, but not always the wisest. Whether she receives exciting news, harsh criticism, unexpected praise, or painful disappointment, she gives herself something that many people refuse to give themselves: time. She understands that emotions are like waves. They rise quickly, feel overwhelming, and then slowly settle. What feels urgent today may not even matter a week from now. That is why she refuses to make life-changing decisions while her emotions are at their highest. She knows that a calm mind often sees what an emotional mind completely misses. For example, imagine someone insults her during an argument. Many people would immediately fire back with words they can never take back. She chooses a different path. She walks away, sleeps on it, and returns when her mind is clear. Sometimes she realizes the comment was not worth responding to. Other times, she sees that the person was speaking from anger rather than truth. By waiting, she avoids creating a bigger problem than the one she started with. She uses the same habit when good things happen. If she receives an exciting job offer, a business opportunity, or a promise that sounds too good to be true, she does not rush to say yes simply because she feels excited. She gives herself time to think. Excitement can be just as misleading as anger. Many people regret the decisions they made while celebrating because they confused emotion with good judgment. This habit has taught her that patience is not weakness. It is emotional intelligence in action. She knows that life rewards people who can pause before they react. A delayed response often leads to a better response. Over time, this simple habit gives her an incredible advantage. While others become prisoners of the moment, she becomes a student of it. She lets time separate facts from feelings, truth from impulse, and wisdom from emotion. In many situations, the greatest strength is not reacting quickly. It is having the discipline to wait until your mind is as calm as your heart wishes it had been from the beginning. Number 9. They measure freedom by how little can be used against them. Point one of the deepest habits of a fearless spicy lady Sigma is the way she defines freedom. Most people think freedom means having more money, more influence, more choices, or more recognition. She sees it differently. To her, real freedom wakes up knowing that very little can be used to control the way she thinks, feels, or lives. She understands that manipulation rarely begins with force. It usually begins with temptation. Sometimes people offer praise to gain influence. Sometimes they use guilt to make someone stay in a relationship that has already become unhealthy. Other times they create fear by making someone believe they will never find another opportunity, another friend, or another partner. She has learned to recognize these invisible chains before they become permanent. For example, imagine someone keeps flattering her every time they want a favor. Many people would mistake that for kindness. She pays attention to the pattern instead. She asks herself, would this person treat me the same way if they needed nothing from me? That simple question protects her from becoming emotionally dependent on compliments. The same is true when someone tries to shame her. They might say, if you really cared about me, you would do this. Instead of reacting from guilt, she takes a step back and asks whether the request is fair or simply another way to control her choices. She refuses to let guilt become the steering wheel of her life. She also knows that fear is one of the oldest tools of manipulation. People stay in jobs they hate because they fear starting over. They remain in unhealthy friendships because they fear loneliness. They silence themselves because they fear being misunderstood. She has learned that every fear deserves to be questioned before it is obeyed. Over time, she becomes emotionally independent because fewer things can pull her away from her values. Praise does not distract her. Criticism does not define her. Fear does not easily control her. Temptation does not quickly convince her. She has discovered that the strongest person is not the one who controls other people. The strongest person is the one who cannot be easily controlled by anyone. That is the kind of freedom that no amount of money or status can ever buy. What if true fearlessness has nothing to do with looking brave, but everything to do with the choices you make when nobody is watching? That is the question worth thinking about after everything we have covered today. The habits of a fearless spicy lady Sigma are not about being perfect, winning every battle, or having life completely figured out. They are about becoming more honest with yourself every single day. The women we talked about do not grow because life gives them special treatment. They grow because they are willing to face uncomfortable truths, question their own thinking, let go of what no longer serves them, and keep learning even when it is difficult. They understand that real strength is built quietly through small decisions that most people never notice. Those small choices shape character, and character shapes an entire life. Now, take a moment to reflect. Which of these habits do you already practice? Which one challenged you the most? Sometimes one honest answer can change the direction of your life. More than 100 motivational quotes ever could that if this video gave you a fresh perspective. Share your thoughts in the comments because your experience may encourage someone else. Share this video with friends and family who would enjoy this conversation, and subscribe to join our community for more deep insights and thought-provoking discussions. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your continued support. I truly appreciate every one of you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. God bless. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and leave a thoughtful comment down below. Your support means the world to every spicy lady Sigma growing in peace and self-awareness.